So when we got married, there was expectation from everyone to have this big wedding and all these people at the wedding. And because I'm frugal, I was like, the budget is 10,000 rand, full stop. And people were like, but we have to invite this. And I was like, gladly, but then you need to bring the money. In this 10,000 rand, your suit will come out, my dress will come out, the food will come out. We didn't have cake because cake was not within the budget. In fact, our photographer's camera wasn't even charged because that's the kind of photographer we got. But when we started our marriage, we didn't have debt. So we're not starting on a minus. It's like it's like we're not starting on a minus.
We had a bad marriage, but a good wedding. Bad wedding, but a good marriage. Yeah.
One Life is committed to driving meaningful conversations that empower South Africans to take control of their financial well-being. Real change begins with open and honest discussions about financial planning, no matter how uncomfortable they may be. From funeral, life, dread and disability cover, wills and estate planning, as well as One Life's insurance-free financial literacy initiative, Truth About Money. One Life has all the tools to help you build generational wealth and provide overall peace of mind as life's financial needs change. Visit onelife.co.za to learn more. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wisdom and Wellness podcast, live with One Life, and we're talking about life-changing decision, life-changing lessons. Now you got me into decisions. I'm going to start with some icebreakers. Okay. One thing you wish you knew as a man before getting married.
Yo, how's that an icebreaker? You literally just went straight in. It's actually interesting because I think marriage is like one of those things. It's better, the more naive you are, the better chance you have, because I think it's the perceptions or the the notions that you have before it that really ruins the experience. I think a lot of what I've learned with us, and we've been married for 8 years. Yeah. so not bad. But what I've learned with us is that it's the adaptability and sort of learning that your partner is growing every time.
Yeah.
And accepting that kind of makes it work. So I think I'm glad we did it when we were very naive. I don't think I would have liked to know a lot of the things that I know now. I don't think I would have made the same life lesson decision.
What do you mean? You would have married someone else?
I don't think I would have gotten married at all, if I'm being honest. I think...
bad?
No. It's not bad, but marriage is so sacrificial. And I think people, as individuals, we are naturally individual and individualistic. Yeah. And I think as a creative and a quote-unquote high performer, I would have looked at the odds of what this means, how much I have to give up, and I might have chosen myself. Oh, I'm already so deep.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be an icebreaker.
We've icebreakers. Okay, if you could use one word to describe our marriage, what would it be? One word. Be careful.
One word, reflection.
Okay.
I think our marriage, for me, has more than anything taught me to reflect on myself. So, yeah, that would be my word.
Reflection, that's a good one. Okay. A life-changing lesson, not decision, lesson, you are teaching your children. No, a life-changing lesson your children are teaching you.
It's actually the same lesson.
Okay.
It's that I am not what I do. And I think I grew up, and guys, I've been doing a lot of therapy, so it's a lot of it is fresh. But I grew up being performative for my parents, for the people around me. I was like best achiever all throughout primary. And I used to think it's because I was a genius, but now that I look back, I realize I loved being the one at prize giving who's the best. And my parents being the parents of the kid that is the best. And so my kids are teaching me, and this is something I've been telling them, just because I've learned from them, is that, like, I like you even when you aren't the best. I like you even when you are naughty, when you're good, when you're bad, when you're not doing the right things. I still like you. I still choose you. So that's the lesson they've taught me, is that my kids choose me. Like, I let them down so many times. Supposed to pick them up at 2. I thought piano was at 3. Like, the poor kid is sitting with her bag, and she's still like, "Oh, Daddy, you came." Like, she's happy I came.
Yeah.
And so that's the lesson, is that you're not what you do. You can be loved outside of performance.
Yeah. How many can relate to that, the whole performance thing? Yeah. Thank you. So I've divided our conversation into money and healing, therapy, and legacy. Starting with money and healing, as you've heard, we are very, why are you laughing? Because it's tough. We're not very therapized, but we believe in therapy, although sometimes it does take us long to say, hey, we actually need to go back here because we're struggling to hear each other. Not because you're wrong and I'm right, but because our experiences are completely different. So I've learned that a person's relationship with money says a lot about their traumas. Got personal. Says a lot about their traumas, their healing, how far they are with their healing, or if they've even realized that you need a form of healing, and your upbringing. So, Brenden, what's your relationship with money, and what does it say about your upbringing and this version of you, whatever this version of you is?
Oh, mine is bad. But it's changing. I think currently I'm in a good place. And funny enough, I think the loss of my mom really taught me a lot about what I prioritized and what mattered to me. And I think money, like I think any young boy, it's like value. Yeah. We place a lot of value in success and achievements, and we value ourselves. And I was actually telling my friend is that I've gone from valuing myself to being the value. And that's a tough journey. It's taken me, I'm 31, so it's taken me, I'd say 12 years, because I've been in the music industry for 12 years. Okay. And it's taken me really that 12 years to realize that, man, I'm actually enough, and I don't need money to validate me as a person. But I think you have to make money to make that realization. And that's the tricky part, is for the first half, it's really like my relationship with money was, again, performative. I don't know, I think I was trying to value my life with money.
Okay, so I'm going to take it back to Brenden 2023. What was his relationship with money then? And what informed that? Like, which part of your life informed that guy?
What happened in 2022? Why 2022 specifically?
Because 2020... Wait,
specific.
no, sorry. Last year was 2024. So let's take it back to 2023. So I'm not going to use last year because last year was just out of the ordinary.
Life-changing.
Yeah.
Again, yes, it was still that I have these markers that I use to see, am I where I'm supposed to be in my career, in my life? And money is a great marker. It's a great way to tell where you are socially.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you're not materialistic, I think it sometimes shows. Like, you sometimes play into these habits of, it can be as simple as the type of neighborhood you want to live in. It's what the neighborhood represents more than the house. You know, like, people will live in a small apartment in a great neighborhood. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's other factors. But I'm saying that was my mentality, is if I stay in a neighborhood like this, I'm looked at as this kind of person. And if I drive a German car, I'm looked at as this kind of person. This is how people rate me, type of thing. And it was really never about the things. Like I said, the things were they were validating me as a person. Yeah. So, yeah, I think 2023, I probably made the most terrible decisions financially, where if you had given me that money, can God please just give me that money? Now, I've learned I would have invested it better. I think I would have I would have understood that I bring value to things, and things don't have to value me.
That's good. That's good.
Wait, don't do. She likes
Yeah.
doing this. She
What?
likes being the.
No, you can ask me questions too. That's how we do it.
I want
at
to
all.
ask you because naturally Mpoomy is very good with money, but I also think that's a trauma response.
Is everything a
So
trauma?
Everything is based on something. So I wanna understand, what do you think your mentality around money is?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you think? What do you think is the foundation of that?
Okay. So I have a level of being frugal, right? But I also like nice things. Ne? But I'm also willing to do the things to have the money so that I can be frugal. Okay, I'll break it down. I can see you guys are just like, okay, where are we going with this one? So growing up, my mom was a teacher, and she had the stable job, right, where there was consistent income, and, she holds things down. But my mom, I've never heard my mom say, I have got money in imali, say right. Never, ne? Like, I've never heard her speak on finances with liberation or with joy, or as something that, hi man, it was always a source, it was always something that was just, I don't have money, it's month end, you see, I'm buying you McDonald's, ne? Tomorrow don't ask me for anything. So that was the relationship with money, but I know it was consistent. And then there's my dad, who never had a job, he always had a business. And there's moments in our lives where this man is, look, this man works hard, but we kind of not seeing the fruits of this hard work. And so that's my primary life, where we get clothes only in winter because they're small, and on Christmas because, shame, Bandla, you need a dress. And then I get to, I think, high school, and my dad pops. Things start looking up. My dad buys a Range Rover. My dad, how we start going on holiday. We start going to the Kruger every now. Things are, now we get clothes when we need them. I used to sing in the choir, and you need uniform. At the time, it's on Sundays, it's pink and blue or whatever. And every weekend I would get a new outfit, because we could afford it. Yeah, we could afford it at the time. So now I go from just having, we've never starved or struggled for food, nothing like that. So I come from that place, and then we go into having Range Rover holidays, and then I go to varsity, my parents lose it all. So you can already see the consistencies in my life, and to a certain extent, I'm like, it was better when I didn't know what this tasted like. Before I was content with, this is it. I didn't feel like we're poor. It is what it is. Coming now to my relationship with money is that I will work so hard to make sure that the next 30 years of our lives, there's a level of stability. It's not a really good thing, because then there's never a moment to pause and say, hey, girl, well done, you're safe. I had to remind my friend, I don't know what she was complaining, being frugal about, and I said, girl, financially, you're safe now. And I'm making a conscious decision to remind a lot of my peers, black women in my age, to say, hey, buy a new bra, you're safe. you're safe. I know it feels like you have to hold on to the money in case things change, but you're financially safe now. It's okay, So I'm there. And even with clothing, I think in our relationship, you had to be the one who says to me, babe, I think you can buy yourself something nice.
Yeah, because now you attending events, and there's 5 of you in the same dress. And I was like, my dear,
Yeah.
maybe let's go to the other
store.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my relationship with money. It's kind of, my upbringing has made me a bit of a workaholic, because I like seeing money in the bank. I don't like spending it. I like making it, and I want it to sit and be pretty. Whereas, Brenden doesn't like seeing it sit, hey?
I have no use for that.
What?
It benefits me in no way. In fact, it's the bank. The bank is benefiting. They are the ones using my money to give other people
While it's
money.
growing.
No, but yeah, I think we're a good balance. And I think the workaholic thing can be glorified. It can be seen like such a great thing. It's not. Living with someone who is so obsessed with money being there is like there's moments. I mean, some of the best moments in life don't involve money. And you have to be present for that.
Yeah.
And sometimes being present is understanding that you don't need more money in this season.
Yeah.
And taking a step back.
That's the boundary of no. Like, just because
Yeah.
you can get another job or another gig or another this doesn't mean you should say yes. Okay, we spoke about not dating an unemployed man.
Yeah. Hey, that was a lot.
And a lot of the ladies were like, "You're right. I did it and I almost died. I did it and this is what happened. I'm just a survivor." Like, there was a lot of, I've survived an unemployed man. And then the guys were like, someone actually said, "I'm disappointed in
Someone
you."
said, "I'm so disappointed in you."
And so we have our local coffee shop that we go to is Seattle, in our area. And so the guys watch our stuff. So the next time we went to the shop, the guy goes, "Brenden, I'm so disappointed in you." So every time they see us, they're so disappointed in Brenden because he said, "Don't date an unemployed man." But like I said, the women were like, "Siyamuzwa, we hear him. He's right. You guys are right." And the men were very angry, right? So why do you think it touched a nerve? Why do you think it touched a nerve?
I don't want to backtrack my statement, so I want to be very cautious in the language that I choose. But I think it's layered.
Okay.
And I think that there's a lot of things to consider. And I think the conversation, there was a clip, right? Part of a bigger conversation. And I think the real conversation is self-actualization. And I think money plays a very big part, especially in men. For some of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. As kids, that's how you grow up to be a provider and to be this person who's supposed to have answers for everything.
Yeah.
And when you don't have money, you can't have answers.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've learned. You can have suggestions.
But at the end of the day,
It's like, I think we should, but then it's like, okay, cool, tati mot yo tenga. And it's like, oh, benkeli cut. It changes how you respond to things.
Sure.
When things happen, ekaya, to rock up. And I mean, I'll make a very simple example. When my mom passed, I had a lot of friends send me messages. "Oh, bro, so sorry, man. I'm with you." And I appreciated that. But then I had a select few of friends who showed up, took time off of the schedule. Remember, that's a money thing. If you can take time off of work as a self-employed person,
Sure.
that is a money thing. It's, I can afford to not work for a week and come pick up chairs with you and mourn with you during this time.
It's a money thing.
It's a money thing. And so we don't attribute that to a finance. You don't have to give me money, but the security that money gives you allows you to be generous in certain ways that you really just can't be when you don't have money. So
Sure.
my conversation was, it's okay if he loses his job and you know the person.
Yeah.
But when you meet someone and they haven't self-actualized to that point where they're not doing things because they have to. I'm not serving you in this way because that's the only way I can show up.
Sure.
I'm choosing to show up in that way. That's a different thing. There's a different realness to knowing someone. Like I said, when someone is actively choosing to be in a certain place and they don't have to, they can just send money, that's a character trait that I think is worth something.
Yeah.
When someone wasn't doing anything and was like, "I'll come,"
It's like, of course you'll come.
it's a different type of commitment.
Yeah.
So money, I think, with men is, it affords them no. So when they say yes, they mean it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. I hope that guy on TikTok
Who's disappointed
is not
in you?
so disappointed anymore.
Yeah. Therapy. So we've just gone back to therapy this year. Yeah, this month actually. We've gone back to therapy this month as a couple and as individuals. Intense therapy. And in one of our sessions, our therapist is like a very strict lady. Like she's very
I
strict.
like her so much.
So she actually said to me, we discovered that I know how to work a problem. So I am very good at work. Like that is my strength in life, is that I'm very good. Like, let me show you my talent. My talent is to work, right? And so even in our relationship, I work. In all my relationships, the natural thing for me to do is work. That is very unhealthy in relationships, because relationships aren't transactional, right? So, but then my husband, what we found out in therapy, he's one of the, if there was an option to never go there, I'll take it. So we've got two people where if there's this blue bottle that is giving us a problem, I'll be like, okay, let's break it down. Let's cut it now. I'm not afraid of what's inside as long as we work to get to the bottom line. And then Brendan's like, can't we just put it under the rug?
I love the rug.
He loves the rug. But now it's both happening at extreme, like we're both extremists. So it's happening at an extreme level where I want to talk now. And he says, we don't have to talk about it. Have you found that your approach is helpful or detrimental? And do you think we need both, or someone has to change? Based on our sessions with our therapist.
I think what I've learned about, and the reason we do marriage therapy and then also individual, is because I think if you're married, I think that's important. I think also you shouldn't just do individual therapy, because what I've learned, individual therapy makes you very independent, because it's your side of the story all the time. And so you can really I can build a case for why it's important to keep things under rugs. But when you're in a partnership like a marriage, it's like we have to have joint ideals. So, look, I think the goal is to find common ground.
Okay.
I think at some point you have to face the issue.
At which point?
And that is then the question, is with you, because you're a worker, you're very urgent.
Yeah.
So you have to find the solution now.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there is no solution now. And sometimes there's definitely not a solution if we're both heightened in our emotions. So I think the goal, again, like I said, is to start to learn each other. So, and we got this great marriage book that has like rules of how to communicate. So instead of sweeping things under the rug, which is what I usually would do,
Usually do, yeah.
I now have to say, I know that this bothers you, and I'm aware that it's quite an urgent matter, but I would like to sit with it and think about how I really feel. So can we have this conversation? And then one of the laws is it has to be within 24 hours. So I can't have the conversation now, but let's have this conversation tomorrow morning after I've had my morning coffee.
At 9 a.m.
And I've prayed for you. So those are some active tools, right? Yeah. I think the idea is to have common rules that we can both adhere to, because we are different people. Yeah. But we can at least have a set of rules that even in our differences, we agree on this. So, guys, I do my work. I'm learning.
Legacy. What legacy do you want to leave for our children? Emotionally, physically, and financially. Because everyone thinks legacy is just financial, right? Inheritance is just financial. But for you, for your daughter and your son, and it could be different for each of them, but yeah, break it down for me emotionally, physically, and financially.
What do you mean by legacy?
When your children talk about dad one day, what do you want Nuri and Zani to say? This is what daddy instilled in me emotionally, or what do you want them to show? When your kids talk about physically, talk about the physical things, whether it's their physical body or work or just things, material things. What do you want them to say? Financially, what do you want to leave them with? For example, I think I've seen celebrities who they take the entire estate and give it to charity whilst having kids. That says something. Perhaps they've decided, these kids are not responsible, they should make their own money, and that's the legacy we want to leave as a family, and they give it all away. Or there's some families who say, give it all to the kids, we trust them. So in that sense, what do you want your kids to say? This is what I got from daddy. This is his legacy.
I want my kids to be intentional and learn that whatever you do, at the very heart of that, it must be meaningful. And it must not be for self-gain.
Love that. A few years ago, was it 2-3 years ago, we realized how much of adults we needed to be. So for the first time, we sat in a financial advisor's office, and he asked us, if something happens to both of you today, where do your children go? And we went in there having not thought about the fact that something could actually happen to both of us at the same time. That's the first thing. So that we had to go home and be like, we have to think about this. We have to talk to somebody about this. Then secondly, he was like, what happens with this money that you leave behind, your assets? Who does it go to, and how much control do they have? And is there someone else signing for it? And there's all these questions that we had to answer, where in that moment, I think we both felt like, we don't need to do this, we've still got time. But then we realized that if we don't do this, somebody else gets to make the decisions regarding our children. I know that when we faced it, it came with a lot of freedom, where we actually started visiting every family. We're like, did you guys do this? Did you do your will? Did you do this? How did it make you feel in the moment when you had to make those decisions regarding the future of our children, and even our own future concerning our retirement, etc., where it's so easy to say, I'll see it at 40, I'll see it at 50. How did it feel like in the process, and how did it feel like after, when you had done the ugly work?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because I think that also played a big part of just changing my mindset. I'll start with the after. Yeah. I think one thing I like about having your life portfolio in order is it gives you a sense of freedom, which I'd never had before. And I remember I didn't understand, because Mpoomy likes these things. So Mpoomy is like, where can we invest? We need to have a will. I'm like, I don't need a will. People know I love you. But like, it's that you realize, and I mean, if you've ever lost a loved one, you know that it's a lot to deal with when things happen and you were not prepared. And you are at the mercy of so many systemized things that you, did not know about. And are only now just learning about it. But I would say the biggest piece for me is knowing that, again, my kids are okay, and that's why it's part of the wealth building. They don't have to depend on me when I'm not here, right? They safe, they secure, they can mourn me without being worried about where do they need to be. I think that's one of the hardest things. When my mom passed, one of the hardest things is you see your mom's corpse for the first time, and then you have to make a decision of a coffin in like the next minute.
10 minutes, yeah.
Like, you don't have a lot of time. You have a week. You have a week to set up everything. And I remember we drove back home, and when we got home, there's all these people. So now you're not even the mourner, now you're the comforter. Because, they need the scones.
They need cookies.
And they need coffee, and someone's got to make it. Yeah. They don't know where the kettle is. And so things switch up so quickly that, like, I was just glad that, luckily my mom worked at the bank. So I like that corporations make sure people get things together. Yeah. But I think as creatives, I think it's a huge responsibility to know that you don't leave people with an added burden. when they should just be focusing on remembering your presence and focusing on the beauty of the life that you lived, they don't also now need to be getting in debt. And that is a responsibility on us. And I think as creatives, we forget, again, we look at the Gucci's and it's like, oh, you're living for all these things, but like, you don't know what a TFSA is, you don't know anything. You don't know that you need, you can get a policy on a tax that might be charged on your life cover. There's all these things it's there. Like TikTok is feeding it to you, like, hey, and then you're just scrolling, you want anxiety. It's like, so it's a tough one, but I think if you've been through it, there's a bigger motivator. But I would say, I think we were lucky, and I don't know why God blessed me with this woman. Mpoomy came up with this idea, and we have retirement annuities and like offshore stuff. I don't even know how the stuff works, but it
just know that your money comes off.
I just know that I just need to make this much money to give to a very good finance guy, broker, and they sort it out. And it's like, you live with a sense of freedom, because as much as, you wouldn't do that with your car, right? Yeah. Think about that. You wouldn't do that with your Omoda. You wouldn't. Yeah. You wouldn't dare drive in the street not knowing, oh, if someone did something and something happened, how would I be? I mean, some people do.
I was about to say,
To be honest, some people do. I wouldn't dare. In my life, I've always had car insurance. If you've ever been in accidents, you have to have car insurance. So what more alive? What more alive?
When you got married, one of the things your mom drilled into us, it's like ages ago, was, Bear, you need to get a funeral policy. And we both found it really irritating, right? We were 23, 24, and we found it irritating. And so Brenden gets one just to get her off his back. Literally, we were just like, just do it and get her off your back, because we're talking about, we've got all these things, and like you say, we self-employed. Nobody teaches you these things, but considering the whole process of grief now, and we haven't really spoken. We lost Brendan's mom in September, and it was just a huge shock factor. You'll explain it later, but one of the things we found peace in is we got there and we were told, this is the policy, this is the policy, this is how much, this is how much, this is how much, this is how much. These are the decisions you can make. And in that moment, we lost a close sister of mine about 3 years ago. And for us, it was, this is how much we need, this is how much we need, this is how much we need, this is how much we need. How did your mother's planning save your family and the bond of your family?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. I mean, I remember actually, that week, my accounts were frozen.
Yeah.
I had a FICA thing I didn't fill out. And they froze my account on the week that my mom passed. And on a weekend, you know how banks are on a weekend. So first of all, I'm already thinking, if I need to buy cabbages, bro, you're in for a surprise. We are not having cabbage. But no, it was amazing. We got to relate as people. And we got to do something really nice. And we had, we had a budget to work with.
Yeah.
And so we could make decisions based on what we think she would like.
Yeah.
What would she like? How would she like this to be done?
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of this is what we can get. Let's just get something. No, it's a matter of we sending her off. This is the last time we get to celebrate her with all of her friends in the same place.
Yeah.
How can we make this experience amazing?
So I actually connected back to when we got married. So when we got married, there was expectation from everyone to have this big wedding and all these people at the wedding. And because I'm frugal, I was like, the budget is 10,000 Rand, full stop. And people were like, but we have to invite this. And I was like, gladly, but then you need to bring the money. But I was hell-bent strict on saying the budget for the wedding is 10,000 Rand. We have it in cash. In this 10,000 Rand, your suit will come out, my dress will come out, the food will come out. We didn't have cake because cake was not within the budget. the venue had a carpet, that bandla, shame, But we got married. And the benefit of that is in the moment, it might have felt like, shame, In fact, our photographer's camera wasn't even charged because that's the kind of photographer we got. But when we started our marriage, we didn't have debt. So we're not starting on a minus. It's like it's like we're not starting on a minus.
We had a bad marriage, but a good wedding. Bad wedding, but a good marriage. Woo. Yeah.
TikTokers are going to come for you.
Are you going to edit that one?
But yeah, and I think that just speaks to, and that's why I start with the conversation of how has your upbringing informed your money decisions? Because if we never deal with the upbringing stuff, then we bring it into all our relationships, then it's messy because we're doing it for show. And now it's like life is gonna life, but now life is lifing with also your own things that you're putting in there. But if we can control what we can control, like saying, this is the budget, let's stick with it, then, we're not starting on a minus, we're starting on a positive. What's a life-changing lesson that your mother taught you?
Oh, man. Check up on people.
Oh, yeah.
One of the hardest things after my mom passed is not getting her WhatsApp messages.
Girl called.
Because she was a communicator. And, and I always appreciated it. And I always called her back 2-3 days later. And she'd always be like, I called you 3 days ago. And then
she would call me to tell you to call her back.
It was she had a system. But yeah, to check up on people, like it matters to be the first one to text. Be the one to initiate stuff. If you have friends that you appreciate, it matters to say, hey, let's do coffee next week.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do, not just we're always seeing each other when there's things randomly, but we close. We care about each other. We're only showing up in tough times. Like, it's nice to just have someone check up on you.
Yeah.
How are things? How are you? How are you really?
Yeah.
And so I've just started doing that now, where I just text people and they're like, yeah, what do you want? I'm like, no, I'm just checking on you. Yeah. How's things? How's life? And I think social media has played such a huge part because we think we know what everyone's life is because we follow them. Yeah. And it's like, people are still having real experiences and, they're not sharing everything out there. So there is a life that's being had outside of socials that I think if you're friends with someone, you should care. Yeah. And so, my mom taught me to care a little bit deeper about people.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think is the meaning of life and the meaning of love? That's my last question.
How would I know?
We're in this moment.
The meaning of life. I guess the meaning of life is love. Okay. So I think the real question is, what is the meaning of love? Oh, our therapist said something.
Oh, no, that was my point.
Okay, never mind.
No, say it. No, you can have it.
She said love. What did she say?
Love has no solutions.
Love has no solutions. And I guess the way I took it was love is the solution and it encompasses everything. And so I guess the meaning of love for me would be for things to make sense. And I think if you can build enough love within yourself and start to live life from that place, I think it makes everything make sense. And something as tough as loss and grief can birth something within you because of the love that was within that moment, the love that the person you've lost presented and lived their life through. Yeah. You can inherit that, Like, we like to talk about inheritance. So one thing I've learned is my mom loved people. She loved life. She loved food. She loved cooking for people and making them fat. And I can inherit that from her experience. So when love is the basis of all, I think it makes everything make sense. Yeah.
Love is the solution. And actually, I love what you said, that life essentially is love. And if love has no solution, love is the solution. So in everything, universally, in our work, in our play, in our friendships, in our relationships, in our money, when the question is always, is this from love or fear? Then we have a map. Our ego will step in and convince you otherwise. But if we always go back to the foundation of, am I moving from love, or am I moving from fear? And what is the standard of love? Love covers a multitude of sin. Love covers everything. Love is kind. Love is patient. Love is. Thank you.
Thank you.